All righty.
We're excited to be here today.
Yes. I'm Charity.
I'm Hillary. And there's another one down there.
And
I'm sure he's going to answer.
Kahle.
Woo! Welcome to the party.
It's going to be a winner today. I can feel it already.
Oh.
Kahle keeps freezing.
Oh.
Is that? I thought he was just being quiet.
Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
It's all right. All right, take us away, Charity. What are we looking at? Do we want to do goals and stuff like that, or do we want to?
Yeah, we can start with our goals. Does anybody remember what our goals were last? I'm talking. Oh. Let's see. I'm talking every time you say I'm not. Oh no.
Oh, that is funny. I was wondering what I'm.
Do you think it's better if you don't do video? Would the sound work better? Okay,
I'll
talk,
try
Kahle.
that.
Heard you. A little bit.
Well, let's see.
Oh, crap.
Oh, we heard that.
Yeah, you heard it about 10 seconds after I said it.
Well, today is the podcast of
the
lag.
reaction time is hilarious. I say something and then you guys laugh like almost exactly 10 minutes later. This is so weird.
It just keeps getting longer.
Well, Kahle, why don't we start with you?
I think you can plug that sound in wherever you want it, Charity.
Okay, let's see.
Okay.
We'll count down. Okay, Kahle, tell us about your goals this week. I'm counting really fast.
The inside.
Ooh.
Must be going in the house or something.
Okay.
Oof.
Well,
Okay.
Hillary, why don't you fill us in on your writer's retreat you got to go to last week and how that worked out for you?
All right. Proceed as normal. All right. So yeah, last week I got to go on a writer's retreat. That was awesome. My goal for a while has been to finish my cozy mystery and edit on my other romance, my last romance. I need to do an edit on that. And I did pretty good. I got through the cozy mystery and I did some drafting on a new story. I didn't get into my romance editing, but I have been making some notes on it today. So that's good. I'm also beta reading a book right now. So
awesome. Fun.
Yeah.
Do you find that since that romance book is already published and out there, it's easier to just go, it is what it is and work on other things?
Yes, except I'm really not happy with what it is right now. So I will be editing that one. That's another one of those where I'm like, I just have had some learning experiences and it needs to be cleaned up. It really does. Yeah. So it's going to get an edit. But I kind of included that in part of my work time and I just need to get that done. So we're going to try.
Awesome. So, but you feel like you did good with the mystery, not murder mystery, the cozy mystery.
Yeah. I'm really happy with where that went and how that went down. I found myself an editor that I can use. So that was nice. That's been one of my struggles actually, is finding an editor that I can just send stuff to,
Oh, nice.
And yeah, I think I found one that I like pretty well. So that's been really nice.
Oh, see, that's always a blessing. Um,
Yeah.
cool. Cool. I was hoping Kahle would be back so we could get his goals. Okay, so what are your goals? You said you want to still work on the romance a little bits at a time. It may not be your main focus. What do you think your main focus will be?
That probably will be my main focus, actually. That
Okay.
and finishing drafting this other story. I'm working on a pen name story, and I want to get that drafted. I'm hoping to get it drafted this week, but I don't know. This week is actually going to be a little tricky for me because my mom and my sisters are coming into town, which will be a lot of fun. But
Nice.
at first I was thinking, oh, I'll get to do a bunch of stuff there because they're calling it a creative retreat. But my family is a sewing family. And so what I'm worried is that creative retreat is actually what that means is a sewing retreat.
Yeah. And you
So
can
I may be
talk
doing a
while you
lot of sewing
sew.
this week. I do love to sew. I mean,
Yeah.
it would still be very good, but
Right.
it wouldn't be accomplishing these goals. So we'll see. One of the really good things about that is it reminds my brain, my sewing brain, what it needs to be doing. So it helps me when I'm writing those cozy mysteries because it's the cozy quilting mystery, and it's good to be in that world a little bit.
Yeah,
So
and that'll help with cleanup with the rest of that mystery and maybe work on the bigger novel.
yes, I do still. I'm planning to get 2 of those larger novels out. I've got a cool deal in the works for one of those, and I'm excited, but I don't think I can say very much about it yet.
Okay, cool. We'll just have that for sometime in the future, a big announcement. I
It'll
love
be
it. I
fun.
love it. I love it. I had a thought and now it's gone. So I apologize.
That's okay.
It was
Tell
a
us about your
question.
stuff.
Okay,
Oh,
so yeah, and kind of my goals and what I've been working on trying to get my brain in the right place is sort of what brought about the topic I'd like to talk about after goals. Um, so the goal several months in a row has been I need to write Talia's third book. I need to write Talia's
yeah.
third book. It's got to be done. It's been 4 years since book 2 came out. It's way overdue. But I've really struggled and I couldn't figure out why I was struggling. I kept thinking, oh, it's because I'm afraid to write these scenes that are coming up that are going to be really hard on her. They're going to be really hard on me. I mean, like, seriously, I've sat and just cried over these scenes that I have to write. And so I thought, well, it's just my fear. It's my insecurity. I just don't want to do it. And I do think that's part of it. Um, however, I did something in the last 2 weeks that kind of brought up a new reason for why I might be struggling. I have been taking my 10 years of blog posts and putting them into a book. And as I've been flipping through them, I found this post about story worthy problems. And I read over it, and it's actually talking about book 1 in the series, Talia's story worthy problem for the Magic Wakes. And as I read it, just a light bulb went off, and I was like, I am so stupid. I am just so stupid. For 4 years, I've been like, I have to write Talia's book. I have to write Talia's book. But what I've realized is this is not Talia's book. This is Landry's book.
Ooh.
Yes, and that's hard because the first 2 books, she is my main character. She is the one that had the story-worthy problem that needed to be answered and resolved by the end of that book. And so I've got like almost 50,000 words written, and I've not, I mean, there's some good stuff there that I will be able to use, but I haven't been in love with the story. And because of that, I keep pushing it aside and working on other projects, which is great because I'm finishing other things, but
Not reaching that goal.
not reaching that goal. I mean, I've pushed it off for 4 years. So what I have learned is that even though Talia has the most to lose in book 3, and so logically it sounds like, the book should be about her. However, she really doesn't have a choice to make. None of the choices that she does make will change the outcome of where the story is going. And so finding the story worthy problem, should I explain what that is or? how
It
it's
wouldn't
different?
hurt. Oh, I mean, I think, yeah, it wouldn't hurt. Just
Okay.
tell them a little bit what you mean about that
Okay.
by that.
I'll try to be super brief. And this is actually coming from a book called Hooked by Les Edgerton. But he's talking about how a story worthy problem is different from the surface problems that you have in a book, because all books are built around trouble. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but basically, the story worthy problem always relates more to the inner psychology of the protagonist, and it has to be big enough, dramatic enough to change the protagonist's world and force him on a journey of change.
That's always one of the hard things for me. It's that whole, it's the
Hard.
protagonist's inner problems. And I'm like, you mean I have to like
Yes.
really know what she's feeling and thinking to solve this?
Well, and worse, you got to
It's,
figure out, how do you want them to change? I'm like, it's easy to throw
yeah,
problems at them and, oh, there's going to be this happen and this happen. It's easy to think of those events that are hard and challenging that they have to solve. But that's what he's talking about as surface problems. And I can keep all the surface problems I've planned, but I have to now look at it from Landry's perspective, because he's the one that will have the story worthy problem that's going to drive everything forward. He's the one that will change the most at the end of the story.
and that doesn't mean that you're going to change perspective, right? You're still writing it from Talia's point of view. And
Well, I've always written from both of their points of view,
okay, that's true.
but in the other ones, it was her
Her
choices. It was
story.
her psychology that was changing. She was the
So do
character
you feel like
changing.
those viewpoints are going to be weighted differently this time? Or is it just
I think they
really your
should
own
be.
author knowledge that will change and create the story then because you know the problem?
I think it'll be a little bit of both. I think his should be weighted a little bit more, but I also think it's more of an internal thing for me that now I know where the focus is, because I was having trouble making things match up. I had all these scenes, but something felt off to me and I couldn't make them match up. And I think it's because I was looking at Talia and going, how is this changing her? It's not changing her. I'm going to have to throw this whole scene away. But now going back and I freak out. I'm like, 50,000 words. I don't want to throw away 50,000 words. My brain doesn't let go of that easily. But
It's really
now,
hard.
yeah.
I
But
will,
now if I
yeah.
go back and go, okay, this scene is changing Landry. And here's the best part. For like 3 months now, I've been trying to figure out where this story starts. And the whole idea with knowing your story worthy problem is your inciting incident is the place that kind of introduces that problem. And your character might not recognize it, and it doesn't need to be fully like, boom, here's your problem, but that's kind of what triggers everything. And so I was trying to find a starting point to trigger Talia, and of course I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
So now that I know he's the one that has to be triggered to start his psychological journey, I'm like, now I know where to start. So that makes me
Interesting.
excited. That makes me
I
really
like that.
excited.
Finding that beginning of the book is always really tricky to me because they always talk about throwing you into the action and all this kind of thing, and it can be, I don't know, it's always a toss up for me because I'm like, there's all sorts of points I feel like where you could really start. So what defines the inciting incident for this story? And I think that's really good advice actually, is to
Yeah.
look for that story worthy problem and know that this is the kind of the thread that goes through your character's arc, and whatever starts that's your inciting incident.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's something I've actually thought about a lot, especially with writing the mystery, because it's like I'll be going along and trying to thread together these experiences, and every time I do it, I write this, the one that I typically write is in 6 parts, and they are read 1 month, and then it's 2 months before the next part comes out. And so like my whole purpose with that, I'm like, I have to make this scene exciting. I have to end on a cliffhanger. It has to solve some problems. I have to throw some clues in there. Yeah. And it's like, I'll do this over and over again, but I'm like, but what's the problem? What exactly are we solving through all of these random pieces? And as I was writing this last one, it's like, I'd go through several scenes and I'd sit there and I'd just look at my wall, and I don't do this with my romances, but I cover my wall in sticky notes with my cozy mysteries.
I love it. I love it.
I love sticky notes, but
Yes.
I'll write notes all over them and I'll stick them in lines and try to figure out and pull them and move pieces around that way. And I'll just sit there and I'll stare at my wall and I'll be like, but what is the problem? Just like, what if somebody reads this story, what are they going to say? This was what it was about. You know,
Right.
this was what changed. This was what needed to be solved. Even just the base mystery of it all. It's like, there's so many things as you're trying to throw in more conflict. It's really easy to change the mystery. And then like by the end, I remember the first time I did it, by the time I got to the end, I'd forgotten what the mystery even was that I started with. I'm like, wait, did we actually solve the problem? I don't know.
But you had
So,
fun getting there.
we did. And I actually did end up solving the problem, but I had to do that. I had to go back and be like, okay, wait, we need to make sure that that's what we're fixing and not just coming up with new fun ideas that all of a sudden, oh, look, now look, someone's in jail. Yay! We solved a problem. It's not the way it works.
And see, that's great because that actually reminded me of another quote from this book. And I'll talk more about the book after we log off. I can do a little end cap and tell everybody about the book. But in his book, chapter 3, he says, every problem, story worthy and surface, has to have its own corresponding resolution or goal. So that's what you're talking about. You know, did we solve all these pieces? But he said that the resolution of the surface problem should not be the resolution of the story worthy problem. And so you've got that big umbrella, but then you've got all your little clues that you've put through that you've got to solve, and they
Yeah.
all
Well,
have to
and
resolve.
with this one, I've thought about that too, just where it's tricky because I've got my main sleuth who is actually my mother, and I keep trying to, every time I start one of the stories, I'm like, I have to have some way for her to grow. But to me, she's my mom. She's like, she's already done. She's got this world figured out. She doesn't have growing to do.
Yeah.
So, but it's, as a character in the book, I have to give her things to solve. And I'm not sure I've gotten really good at that yet. That whole inner growth part of it. But it is definitely something I've been thinking about and trying to make sure I'm including. Hopefully, also, the other thing I struggle with is that I'm writing novellas basically, and it's really hard to have all those pieces in the novella. You get
Right, because they're
only
really
this
short.
many, Yeah, I at a max
What,
I get
12,000?
15,000
Okay.
words. So yeah, it's between 12 and 15, and shorter is generally better. And it's really hard to get it all in there.
That's really great practice though for being concise and
yeah,
keeping
I
your
guess.
story contained and
I think I
not
leave out a lot of
unwieldy.
stuff, so I'm kind of excited to write a full length novel on it.
Well, Kahle is back. He's got the eerie red glow going on.
It's just the poor lighting in this room.
It's all good. So tell us about your goals, what happened last week, where you hope to go this week.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember my goals for last week.
I do that every week.
But I did sit down and write. And I wrote very little that I was able to get out before I was falling asleep on the keyboard, but I wrote and it felt really good.
That's awesome.
There are so many different things struggling with in the writing process. But
Yeah.
What are some of the struggles?
Having events, but then now that the story has bubbled long enough, I don't know where to start. I don't want it to be a narrative summary of this character's entire life. I want to find the actual exciting part of his life and tell that story and use chapter introductions to give the backstory that's necessary, but in little tidbits.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
This
totally
came
stole
today
it from my favorite author. So Ooh,
So I'll get
yes.
it to you, Kahle. And
Okay,
so
thank
you have
you.
a whole month to read it. And I have another one coming. But
Okay.
look, it's tiny. It's like, I don't know if you can
Yeah,
tell.
that is a
little,
very,
like,
that is a tiny book. Dang.
sorry, didn't mean to derail you, but this
No,
should
you're
help
fine.
you. I think that'll help you.
She was just talking about, or we were just talking about kind of finding that inciting incident through finding your story worthy problem and figuring out which
Mhm.
character it relates to and the growth that's going to happen. And because of that, you're kind of able to track back and be like, oh, well, this is what kind of started that for them.
Yeah.
So that's our inciting incident. That's where we begin. And
Oh.
yeah, it's something that I think all of us struggle with. It's hard
Oh,
because there
yeah.
are so many options on that.
It's
Right.
very hard.
Like we got a whole life to deal with here. Where are we starting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
That's good stuff. Good for you.
but I'm
Glad you're
writing.
getting scenes down. That's good that you're getting some words down because all of that helps you to get to know your character, your world, so that when you do figure out this is where I'm starting, you're gonna just out of the gate.
Well, I reread
Yeah.
my prologue and I'm like, I'm so upset because my prologue was so easy to write. It was so easy to write. And now it's like, oh, now the actual story. Crud. Where do I go? Where do I start with?
So do you feel stress like pushing down on you, making you anxious to write? Like you don't want to write because of the stress?
No. Yeah. I've been listening to some really good writing, and I think I'm just overwhelmed, especially with comparing. Like,
Oh,
I'm like,
that's
how
brutal.
in the world can someone have so much in their brain and then make it uh, comprehensible to other people? Is
It
that the
takes a
right
lot of
word?
drafts and a lot of revisions and a lot of
Right,
time.
right.
Yeah.
It
And
doesn't look
that's
like that the first time they write it down.
right. That's what I have to remember is that I think it's been a little over 20 years that all this stuff that my current favorite author has been working on. It's been over 20 years that he's been bubbling this stuff in his brain.
Yeah.
And everything's coming together now. It's insanity. So it's so cool. And I'm like, I don't want that, but I can't even get my head wrapped around telling one guy's story. Like I don't need a literal universe coming together. I just need like 10 people's stories intersecting. Like
Nice.
Oh my goodness. I'm starting to think that kind of one of the main themes of our podcast is this author imposter syndrome, the writer imposter, the insecurities that make us think all these people do all these wonderful things and I can't do that. And it's probably one of our biggest stumbling blocks. So hang on
Yeah.
tight, Kahle. Don't let it get you down.
Well, the thing that has stuck with me the most is every time that you guys have said just keep writing, just write, just write, just write it, Kahle. Write the dang thing. So
Yeah.
I can fix it. I can fix things later.
Yes.
Yeah.
Need
Well,
to
and one
get
of my
that through.
favorite things as I'm writing, what I've been finding anyway, is when I feel like I'm stuck, like I'll be writing along. I'm like, none of this means anything anymore. All these words, I'm like, I'm working through a scene just to try and get somewhere so that something will stick. And I've been when I hit that point, I kind of will step back and be like, what do I want to be writing right now? What do I want to have happening in this story? What are the characters telling me where they should be? Because if I let them tell the story, it goes so much better than when I try and push through a scene. Because maybe that scene just needs to cut to black. I mean, maybe that's not where I need to be. So I'll like step back a little bit and look at it and be like, okay, this was working through here. All right, I'm just going to jump to this point and keep writing from there. And then I match and merge later. But it generally tells the story better. And there's usually almost always there's a way to bridge those gaps without a long breakfast scene where they're trying to decide what they're doing that day. I mean, it's just not necessary. I'm
Yeah.
really.
Hey, thank you. That's extremely good advice.
It is.
Hope
It's
so.
excellent advice.
Cross your fingers, right?
Yeah.
But
Oh my
it's good.
goodness.
We've got some good goals.
We
We're all
do.
working on good stuff.
We do.
High five. High air. Online five.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm still excited for this new year. It started slower than I hoped it would, but hey, we're all moving forward, and that's really the best we can hope for, I think.
Oh,
Move
hey.
forward.
At one point, Kahle was like, messaged me in between and was like, hey, you should send us the names of the stories or a list of the stories you're wanting to put out in 2021. And is that something that you guys did? Are we collaborating a list of that? Because that would be cool to put out our
Oh.
goals.
That would
Okay.
be cool. We could definitely do that.
Yeah,
Nice.
let's I'm down for that collab.
Where do we
I
want
like
to
it.
share them?
We can do it on Facebook. We can have it on our
cool.
just in the description of the podcast if we want.
Yeah, that would be cool. Let's do it.
You
Let's do
guys,
it.
it's so
Feels like
public.
It's going out there.
But
All right.
Kahle,
Okay,
you
I'm
know,
ready.
I didn't really get serious until I started telling people. And then when people started, I mean, seriously, that first
scary
novel
stuff.
happened because my dental hygienist kept going, hey, is that book done yet? I was like, oh no. She's like, it's been 6
Your
months.
dental hygienist. I love it.
That is amazing.
So it's strange what telling people outside of our little group will push you forward to do.
Really true. The other thing that I think about and what I was talking to Charity about it a little bit earlier. I'm like, I had these goals for my week last week and I didn't hit them, but I tend to do that. I tend to hit some high goals and then I don't make it there, but I make it maybe halfway. And that's still pretty dang good.
Yeah.
And so I'm
Yeah.
still progressing. And then I set my goals even higher. And I'm like, oh, I only made it halfway to that one. But hey, look, I finished what I already had, what I was hoping to do before. So I think that's just the way I set goals. I tend to
Nice.
throw some really high things up there and just be like, let's see if I can do it. So it's all right. I mean, put your goals out there, set them the way you need to set them. If you need to set them small and achievable and make sure you got that, then do it. If you want to throw up some high goals and see, let's see what happens, do what works for you because, the whole world's watching.
Yeah, I think for me, it's setting the small goals first and getting that feeling of accomplishment.
I love
Because
that.
my goal this week was, I don't think I said this on the podcast, but after Charity and I recorded with Benny Fife,
Oh yeah.
my
I
goal
wish
was
I found him
literally
on that. He was
just
so cool.
to write.
Yes. And you did.
Write something so that you can say that you wrote on the podcast.
Exactly. Right?
And you did. You did.
See, that's success. And that is so funny because if that's what it takes, that's what you have to do. That used to
Yeah.
be when I started running, my route took me past friends' houses because I had to run past their house just in case they were looking out their window. I could not be walking. So if you say, I'm going to write 500 words this
That's
week, so that
awesome.
next week on the podcast, I can say, I wrote 500 words.
I love that.
That is fantastic.
I might have walked behind their houses, but in front of their houses, I was running.
Excellent.
It's all whatever your mind needs.
Okay.
Cool.
I love it.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I'm going to write 500 words this week. Mark
Nice.
my
Yay.
words.
Every one of them.
Yeah. All in red. Everything's going to need to be edited at the end of this. So.
That's okay. That's okay.
I love that.
So Kahle's
Yeah,
goal
it's true,
is to
right?
write
500
Kahle,
words. I'm going to do
500
it.
That's the
words
breakfast
this
scene.
week.
We're just going to edit that right
Awesome.
out.
Yep.
but it's words on the page.
I was just saying, but I wrote it.
So Hillary, do you have like a specific goal? I know I've already forgotten what we talked about before Kahle came
I
out.
want
That's how
to
bad
hear
my brain is.
Hillary's Mount Everest goal this week.
My Mount Everest goal. Okay. I need
Or
to finish
Kilimanjaro,
drafting
something.
my pen name novel, which I am not talking about. I'm going to finish drafting my pen name novel, and I am going to finish editing, or let's see, no. Okay, that's really Mount Everest, finish both of those. My goal is actually to finish editing the romance, because I really want that out of my vision. I want that gone behind me so I can say whatever it is, and it's done. And I want to, okay, let's say I want to draft 10,000 words on my story this week.
Nice.
I can do that.
That's awesome. Cool. Okay, so my goal is
And-
continue percolating on Landry and how to make this his book. And while that's going on in the back of my mind, my goal is to finish the read through generalized edit on my romance.
I wondered if you were going to say that. Is it ready for a read through?
I've got yesterday and today I managed to get through the first 5 chapters, and I've added another 1,000 words, just making it cohesive, because right now I'm tying all the parts together. So
See,
I
it's
think
like I said, you
realistically,
just write what you want to write, and there's a way to bridge those scenes.
oh yeah. And today I did have a spot where I said I need to put a new scene here. So, but my goal is to get through the first read through of that. And if I feel like writing something on Demon Rising, I will, but I'm not going to stress about that. My focus is going to be on the romance. So,
Sure.
Because that's totally doable, even though it's kind of a large goal.
Hey, props to my daughter. She finished the first draft of her story this week, and she's like, it's not the first time I've done that, but it's the first time I've finished a draft with the intent to go back, revise, and actually make it a story. So
nice.
Props to Allie.
Congratulations,
Yes.
Allie. She needs to get on and share with us. She should be a guest
I know.
one week.
It'd be fun.
It would be totally fun. Okay, you guys. So those are our goals. And then we all need to make our list. And Kahle, clarify what list we're making.
We are making a list of our goals this year.
Okay. And we're going
Our
to
book-
share them on
Book
our Facebook page.
completion or book publishing goals?
Mine
Two
is
different
going,
things right there.
Mine is going to have some other stuff, because my writing isn't all just
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you've got your
publishing
valid.
game.
stuff.
Yeah.
Game.
So we
I've
can
got my
define for
radio
ourselves, is
stuff.
what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Solid.
Awesome.
It's generally around writing.
Okay.
But
What we
So,
plan to accomplish in 2021 with the Loose Leaf Podcast writing crew.
Yay! Woohoo!
Boom.
Ready for it.
I like
Okay.
this.
Well, we just have a few minutes left before we need to sign off. So I did want to mention that I have ordered 2 print copies of the book Hooked by Les Edgerton. And the main focus of this book is
A fish.
hooking. Yeah. Well, what do we do?
Cooking!
The fish we hook. But the whole idea is to hook your reader quickly. Like mostly in that first chapter, it's how to figure out where your story starts so that you're starting in the best place. Talks about conflict. It talks about how to set up your scenes, and it talks about kind of the rhythm that a story needs. It's a great resource for a writer at any stage.
Sounds
like
amazing.
I said, I read it back in 2012. So I should know this stuff, but as I'm rereading it, I'm like, wow, I don't do that. I need to do
That's
that.
awesome.
That will make me a better writer. So
Good.
Kahle gets his first copy to read. And we're going to start.
And then he's going to write his name in it before he sends it to someone.
Oh dear.
because I'm going to set up a
Like read by
giveaway and you should take your notes in it, and then someone will have this awesome.
That's
Someone will be
annotated.
so cool, actually.
Someone will be like, look at this guy's terrible handwriting. Good grief.
I'll give the other copy to Hillary. I need to order a third one. And we can all
That's right,
annotate
one
it.
for each of us.
But the idea is we want our leaf pile to grow. And so we're inviting everyone who has found us and is listening to join us over on Facebook on our website. The link is going to be down in the notes. Come introduce yourselves, tell us what you like, and tell us that you want to be entered to win a copy of Hooked by Les Edgerton. I promise it's a great resource. It's a great tool to help you become a better writer.
Okay, so can you clarify those requirements again? What we are asking them to do?
Yes.
We are asking them to come to our Facebook page, like it, and introduce themselves and say when they introduce themselves, I want to be entered to win.
There
Okay,
will be
introduce
a post.
and ask to be entered.
Yes, yes. I will pin a post at the top so it's easy to find.
I love it.
And I will try to clarify that in the notes so that it's very clear, because it's after 9. Well, it's not quite 9, but it's almost 9, and I turn into a pumpkin at 9. And then I don't make any sense.
You're like Cinderella's little sister.
Yeah.
Didn't even stay up as late as her.
Well, you guys, so any last words anybody has before we log off?
I don't even remember what the closing phrase is.
Keep writing or start
writing.
That is so funny. Okay, let's try it one more time. Ready? Keep writing
Or
or
start
writing. Hey, that wasn't too bad. We have less
I had
than
to
a
remind
minute.
myself, I'm like, just keep going. Don't wait for everyone.
Well, I've been kind of
That causes this.
squishing them together at the end so that they're
You're doing fantastic.
I just can't wait till we can actually get together, all of us
I
again.
know.
It'll be good.
It will
Yeah.
be good. Good. And I love everybody's goals. I love that we're all moving forward. The weeks seem to be flying by. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's time to do this
Dude.
again. And I especially love
Serious.
Kahle's that I got to write something so that I can say I wrote something.
Such a real thing. I love it.
I just got so sick of hearing myself hearing myself say, yeah, I didn't get anything done this week. Like, yeah.
Well,
So,
Cool.
and it really being able to say I did something. I did that. It's a great thing. It's a good feeling.
It
That's-
is.
And it like legitimately it keeps your brain in that story. Just anything that you do, it keeps your brain in that story, and you can even then when you're not writing, it helps you to kind of process and keep moving the story forward even though your fingers aren't on the keyboard.
yeah.
So
Well, if it ends, peace and love.
All right.
Incorporated.
Love you guys. Talk
Love
to you
you
later.
guys too. Bye bye.
See you
All right.
guys. Bye.
Bye.